how Dubai built a megacity in the desert. Dubai should not exist. At least not like this. A megacity of glass towers, artificial islands, indoor ski slopes, massive malls, and one of the busiest airports on Earth, built in one of the harshest climates imaginable. Summer temperatures here can exceed 45 degrees Celsius. Fresh water is almost non-existent. Almost every tree, every lawn, every building material, every piece of food, and even much of the sand itself had to come from somewhere else. And yet somehow, Dubai transformed itself from a small trading settlement into one of the most recognizable cities on the planet. So how did this happen? How do you build a global megacity in the middle of a desert? And maybe more importantly, can a city like this actually survive long-term? Because beneath the luxury and skyscrapers lies a massive hidden system. A system of water, energy, logistics, air conditioning, ports, roads, and economic incentives. A machine designed to make desert life possible at a gigantic scale. This is the story of how Dubai engineered itself into existence. To understand Dubai, we first need to understand what was here before. And for most of history, there really wasn't much. Dubai was a small settlement along Dubai Creek. The surrounding landscape was brutally unforgiving. No major rivers, minimal rainfall, extreme heat, limited farmland, very few natural resources compared to neighboring Abu Dhabi. Before oil, Dubai survived mainly through trade, fishing, and pearl diving. And for centuries, life here depended entirely on adapting to scarcity. Water was precious. Shade mattered. Buildings were designed to catch wind. Everything revolved around surviving the climate. But in the 20th century, the region began changing rapidly. Oil discoveries transformed Gulf economies. And while Dubai did discover oil in the 1960s, there was a problem. Dubai's oil reserves were relatively small, especially compared to Abu Dhabi or Saudi Arabia, which forced Dubai into a very different strategy. Instead of relying entirely on oil wealth, Dubai would use oil money to build something else, a global economic hub. And that decision changed everything. Dubai's leadership realized something critical very early. Location could become more valuable than oil. Dubai sat between Europe, Asia, and Africa, close enough to connect massive trade routes. And if the city could build the right infrastructure, it could turn geography into economic power. But building a global city in the desert required solving an impossible equation. How do you create water, electricity, transportation, housing, cooling, logistics, and economic opportunity in an environment fundamentally hostile to all of them? That answer begins with infrastructure. Massive infrastructure. The port that changed everything. Most people think Dubai's rise started with skyscrapers. It didn't. It started with a port, specifically Jebel Ali Port. Because before you can build a megacity, you need a way to feed it, supply it, and connect it to the world. Dubai sits near one of the busiest maritime corridors on Earth. Trade between Asia, Europe, and Africa passes nearby. So Dubai invested heavily into becoming a logistics gateway. And Jebel Ali became one of the largest man-made ports ever built. This was not just a shipping project. It was an economic engine. Ports create something incredibly powerful: flow. Flow of products, flow of materials, flow of people, flow of money. And once those systems are established, entire industries emerge around them. Warehouses, factories, distribution centers, air cargo, retail, finance, tourism. Real estate. A modern city is essentially a giant machine for managing flows. And Dubai built one of the most efficient flow systems in the world. Dubai also created free economic zones. These areas offered businesses low taxes, fewer restrictions, easier trade access, foreign ownership opportunities. The goal was simple: make Dubai easy for global business. And it worked, because infrastructure alone is not enough. Cities compete through incentives. Then came aviation. Dubai International Airport evolved into one of the busiest airports on Earth. Emirates Airline connected Dubai to hundreds of destinations. And suddenly, Dubai wasn't just a city in the desert. It became a global crossroads, a place people passed through, worked in, invested in, visited, and built businesses around. But connecting the city to the world was only one challenge. The harder challenge was keeping the city alive. Because deserts have a fundamental problem: water. How Dubai creates water. Every glass of water in Dubai tells an infrastructure story. Because unlike cities built near rivers or lakes, Dubai had to manufacture its water supply. And the technology that made this possible is desalination. Desalination removes salt from seawater. Sounds simple, but at city scale, it becomes one of the most energy-intensive systems imaginable. Massive plants pull water from the Persian Gulf. That water is processed, filtered, treated, and pumped across the city. Without these systems, Dubai could not function. Not for tourism, not for industry, not for millions of residents. And this creates one of the city's most fascinating contradictions. Dubai looks lush in many places. Green lawns, palm trees, golf courses, decorative landscaping. But maintaining greenery in desert climates is incredibly expensive. Not just financially, energetically. Water itself becomes part of a hidden infrastructure network. And every additional resident increases pressure on that system. Modern cities hide their most important systems underground. Roads are visible. Skyscrapers are visible. But the pipes, cables, treatment plants, pumping systems, and utility networks are what actually keep cities alive. Infrastructure succeeds when people stop noticing it. You turn on a tap. Water appears. You enter a building. Cold air flows. But behind every simple action is a gigantic industrial process. And in Dubai, that process is especially extreme. Because water is only half the equation. The other half is temperature. And keeping Dubai cool may be one of the largest hidden systems in the entire city. The air conditioning city. Dubai is not really an outdoor city for much of the year. In peak summer, simply walking outside can become exhausting within minutes. So modern Dubai depends on something most people barely think about: air conditioning. And not just ordinary air conditioning. Entire cooling networks. Some districts in Dubai use centralized cooling systems. Instead of every building independently cooling itself, large plants produce chilled water and distribute it through underground pipes. This is called district cooling. And in extremely dense developments, it can be more efficient than isolated systems. But even efficient cooling consumes enormous energy, especially in a city built around glass towers. Glass skyscrapers look futuristic, but in hot climates, they create major thermal challenges. Sunlight enters, heat builds, cooling demand rises, meaning modern architecture often creates additional infrastructure demand. And this reveals something important about cities. Urban design decisions are never isolated. Every design choice creates system consequences. More roads create more traffic. More sprawl creates longer commutes. More glass creates higher cooling loads. More greenery requires more water. Cities are giant chains of interconnected trade-offs. And Dubai may be one of the clearest examples of this on Earth. At night, Dubai glows. But that glow requires enormous electrical infrastructure. Electricity powers, cooling desalination transit systems, elevators, lighting data centers, logistics systems, construction. The city operates like a giant machine. And machines require constant energy, which raises a difficult question. Can this model become sustainable long-term? Dubai is increasingly investing in solar energy and efficiency technologies. But the scale of demand remains enormous. And nowhere is that scale more visible than in the city's construction boom. Building the impossible. Dubai built fast. Extremely fast. In just a few decades, enormous sections of the city transformed almost beyond recognition. And large-scale construction became part of Dubai's identity. But megaprojects are not just engineering stories. They are economic stories. Take the Burj Khalifa, the tallest building on Earth. On the surface, it looks like an architectural achievement. But economically, landmark buildings also function as signals. Signals of ambition. Signals of investment. Signals that attract tourism, businesses, and global attention. Cities compete through perception as much as infrastructure. And Dubai became exceptionally skilled at building global attention. The Palm Jumeirah may be the clearest example. An artificial island visible from space, built by reshaping coastlines and moving massive quantities of sand. Technically impressive, economically strategic, environmentally controversial, because projects like these reveal another hidden reality of megacities. Modern urban development often pushes against environmental limits, and maintaining those systems can become increasingly expensive over time. There's also another reality hidden beneath the skyline. Cities are supply chain systems: steel, glass, concrete, electronics, food, fuel, furniture, machines. Most of it arrives through massive global logistics networks. A city like Dubai depends heavily on imported materials and labor, which means global disruptions can quickly affect local systems. Pandemics, shipping delays, energy price spikes, supply chain failures. Modern cities appear stable, but that stability depends on thousands of invisible connections working continuously. And nowhere are those systems more visible than on Dubai's roads. The highway megacity. Dubai was largely built around the automobile. Wide highways, large interchanges, expanding suburbs, long-distance commuting. And for years, road expansion became one of the city's defining strategies. But transportation systems create feedback loops. And there's a concept urban planners often discuss called induced demand. The idea is surprisingly simple. When you expand roads, more people begin driving, which eventually recreates congestion. Meaning adding lanes does not always solve traffic long-term. Sometimes it encourages more traffic instead. This is one of the hidden paradoxes of urban infrastructure. Efficiency improvements can sometimes increase demand. Bigger roads enable more development. More development creates more driving. More driving creates more congestion. And the cycle continues. Dubai has attempted to diversify transportation through projects like the Dubai Metro. Mass transit systems can dramatically improve urban efficiency. They move large numbers of people using less space and energy per person. But designing walkable, transit-oriented cities becomes more difficult once urban sprawl is already established. And climate matters too. Extreme heat discourages walking for large parts of the year, meaning transportation systems become deeply connected to environmental conditions. Which brings us to a larger question. What does efficiency actually mean in a desert megacity? The economics of the desert. Dubai is often described as artificial. But in many ways, all cities are artificial. Cities are systems humans build to overcome geography. New York overcame winter and density. Singapore overcame land scarcity. Las Vegas overcame desert isolation. Dubai overcame climate. The difference is scale. Dubai compressed decades of development into an incredibly short time frame. And that rapid growth created a city optimized around global flows, tourism, trade, finance, real estate, logistics, aviation, luxury, and experience. Many of Dubai's most famous attractions are climate-controlled experiences, indoor environments designed to create comfort independent of external conditions. Malls become social infrastructure. Hotels become economic anchors. Air conditioning becomes urban survival technology. In a sense, Dubai engineered a parallel environment, a controlled ecosystem layered over the desert itself. And economically, this model has been remarkably successful. Dubai diversified beyond oil. It became globally recognizable. It attracted talent, tourism, and investment. But success creates new pressures. Population growth increases infrastructure demand. Tourism increases water and energy consumption. Expansion increases maintenance costs. And climate change introduces additional uncertainty, which raises the biggest question of all. Can cities like Dubai adapt fast enough for the future? Can Dubai become sustainable? Dubai understands the sustainability challenge. And increasingly, the city is investing heavily into efficiency. Solar energy projects, smart infrastructure, water recycling, public transit, energy-efficient buildings, AI-driven city systems. Because the future of megacities may depend on something surprisingly simple. Efficiency. Using fewer resources to support more people. The most successful future cities may not necessarily be the richest. They may be the most optimized, the best at reducing waste, managing energy, improving transportation, and adapting infrastructure to environmental limits. Dubai is essentially running a massive urban experiment. Can technology overcome geography? Can engineering overcome climate? Can infrastructure overcome scarcity? So far, the answer appears to be partially yes. But every solution creates new systems. And every system requires maintenance. Because cities are never finished. They are constantly evolving machines. The hidden lesson of Dubai. Dubai is easy to misunderstand. Some people see only luxury. Others see excess. But beneath both is something far more interesting. A city engineered against its environment. A place where infrastructure became survival. Where cooling systems made urban life possible. Where desalination created water. Where ports created trade. Where logistics created growth. And where economic incentives transformed a desert settlement into a global megacity. Dubai reveals something important about the modern world. Civilization depends on hidden systems. Systems we rarely think about. until they stop working. The water beneath the streets, the electricity behind the walls, the ships carrying food, the cooling systems protecting buildings from heat, the roads connecting millions of people. Modern cities are not static places. They are living infrastructure networks. And Dubai may be one of the clearest examples of what happens when humans attempt to engineer an entirely new urban reality from the ground up. The question now is whether the next era of cities will be defined by scale or by sustainability, because the future of urban life may depend on how well cities learn to balance both.